Is officially game week. The Minnesota Golden Gophers will kick off their 2025 season against the Bulls of Buffalo this Thursday at Huntington Bank Stadium. The latest betting odds have the Gophers around an 18-point favorite. Um, it should be a very underrated game in terms of storylines and talent between a Big Ten and a MAC team to kick off the season. And I think Buffalo is a team the Gophers cannot overlook. I'll get into that a little bit more, but I think it's a good week one test for a lot of reasons. Um, I think the 18-point spread might be a bit much, but it should be a fun game. So right off the bat, the Bulls are coached by Pete Lembo in his second year, veteran head coach. He's been around the block. He's had stops at Lehigh, Elon, and Ball State. He came to Buffalo last year. Surprisingly, Buffalo went 9-4. They beat Northern Illinois a week after the Huskies beat Notre Dame, which was a pretty big win at the time. And then Buffalo won the Bahamas Bowl over Liberty, which is also a pretty solid win against a good G5 team. So program's in a really good spot. That was their first 9+ win season since 2018. So it's been a unexpected, I guess, quick turnaround, but they're a contender in the MAC this year. They have the third best odds to win the conference at plus 550. And if you're not into betting, that's uh means if you bet $100, you'd win 550. But um, I think when I see those odds, what I find interesting is it's an implied probability of them winning the conference 15.3% of the time. So that, to someone who doesn't know what betting odds means, that means they're pretty good. And the experts think that they have a good chance of winning the conference. If I had to handicap it, they're my pick to win the MAC this year. I We'll get into their roster a little bit more, but combination of good offensive line, really good front seven, veteran quarterback, good running back, and a head coach that's been around. Um, I think they're a tricky team that a lot of people I think are overlooking. So um, the players that Gophers fans need to know when you're at the water cooler talking to your friends, you can be like, hey, Gophers got to slow down this guy. They got to slow down this guy. And those two at the top are veteran running back All-J Henderson, who was first team All MAC preseason. He had over 220 touches last year for more than 1,200 yards from scrimmage and 10 total touchdowns. Buffalo is a run first team, and they're going to feed him the rock all year. Could easily be one of the better running backs at the Group of Five level in 2025. Might not be their best player, but probably their most well-known one, just because at the college level, everyone knows the running backs. They put up big numbers. He's going to have a lot of games this year where he puts up big numbers. At quarterback, really interesting QB, Taquan Roberson, who was in the same recruiting class as Sam Howell, who just got traded to his third NFL team. Roberson is 5 years older than Drake Lindsay. He's going to be 25 this season. Lindsay just turned 20. Roberson was in the same high school recruiting class as Tyler Nubin, who's now entering year 3 in the NFL. Um, so he's been around the block. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school, went to Penn State, didn't work there, transferred to UConn. He was the starter 1 year there. It wasn't great, but then he went to Kansas State, backed up Avery Johnson last year, and now he has one last year eligibility at the G5 level with Buffalo. Um, he's clearly not lived up to his 4-star expectations, but he's 25 years old playing college football, so he's going to have a slight advantage. He's just more mature than other players he's going to play physically and hopefully mentally at this point. But um, he should be a good G5 quarterback. He clearly has the potential to be one of the better ones, but there's really no evidence that he will be. So it'll be interesting, but he fits their system well because he's a dual threat. He can run. They're not going to pass the ball a ton, but they can when needed. And the more I look at this, Buffalo's a solid G5 team. And I think a big reason why is their defense and their front seven specifically. I think they might have 3 NFL players on their front seven and probably the 3 best players on their team. Not many people are going to be talking about the strong side DN for Buffalo, so a casual might not say so, but I probably think they are their 3 best players, and that I think at the top is redshirt senior Kobe Stewart, who led the MAC last year, 9.5 sacks. He entered the transfer portal in the spring. A lot of people are like, "Ooh, that's a big entry. He's going to get a lot of buzz," but then Buffalo pulled him out, which I think shows a lot about cultural sustainability with a program, and I think that tells you that they're in a good spot, both financially and culturally, as a MAC program. If they can retain a guy like that, who's a legit power conference player that I think will get an NFL shot. Um, like I said, led the MAC last year in sacks, and his counterpart on the other side of the football isn't too far behind. Junior Dion Crawford had 8.5 sacks last year. And there's not many teams in the MAC that can compete with that returning production at the edge position. And I think that's a power conference level duo at the edge. So for a Gophers team that has 2 new starting tackles, that is going to be a huge matchup, if not the biggest of the whole game. So um, they have those 2 edge defenders, and then um, their linebacker had the second most tackles in the whole country last year. Red Murdoch had 156 total tackles last year, trailing only his teammate Sean Dolock, who's now with the Rams, but one of the best Group of 5 linebackers in the country. So again, those 3 guys, there are not many Group of 5 teams that can compete with that, and it's going to test the Gophers. And most, I guess, offensive lines during the spring period and fall period don't look great because especially if you have moving parts. And the Gophers, they're going to have a new left tackle. We've talked about the Nathan Roy Kalita Phi battle. Ashton Beers and Greg Johnson return at left guard and center, but right guard is new. Marcellus Marshall. Right tackle is new. Dylan Ray. So to jump right in the fire against a Buffalo team that will test them, I mean, the Gophers, they've been going against a great D line in practice with Jackson Howard and Anthony Smith and Devin Easter and Jalen Logan Redding, but um, this is a solid test for that new look offensive line in week 1. And it just, if Buffalo is able to stay competitive in this game, it's going to be because of that. It's going to be because they generate pressure on Drake Lindsay. They get him a little flustered. The running game's not there entirely because those 3 players are giving the offensive line, they're giving Darius Taylor a little bit of fits to deal with. And that's a scenario that could happen in this game. And I think it's the scenario that would make things a little dicey. Do I think it's going to happen? I think it could. I think it might a little bit. Why? I guess I'm a little more tentative on the overall outlook of this game. Um, 18 points is a lot. I don't know if Minnesota's 18 points better than Buffalo in week 1. I think Buffalo, if you look at their schedule, um, this doesn't need to become a MAC football preview, but they could be a sneaky um team that could flirt with college football playoff. Their schedule's so doable. Uh, I mean, Miami, Ohio is good, and Ohio is good, but I think you're looking at 8-9 win team in all honesty again here. So this could be a game, you're sitting in November and Buffalo's like in the MAC championship and you're like, man, Minnesota won that game by 10, but they played a really good football team. And I think that's what's going to happen. Buffalo has a really good offensive line, really good defensive line. And those are things that help you in games like this. They're not going to be scared against a Minnesota team that has future NFL players on offense and defensive line. I think Buffalo has the guys to compete there. On the outside, I don't think they do at all. I think Minnesota has more playmakers everywhere on the field, and I think they're going to make enough plays to win this game. But I would just say don't be shocked if it doesn't look pretty. Redshirt freshman QB, new defensive coordinator, new wide receivers, Coy Parrish playing both ways of the ball, new offensive line, new linebackers, new corners. There are a lot of moving parts into this game, and it's not like they're playing New Mexico State from a few years ago. This is a solid group of 5 football team. Minnesota should win this game, and I think they will win this game. But all I'm saying is don't be surprised if it doesn't look clean 41-0 blowout. You can look on Gophers on SI, went a little more in depth and do a couple of these matchups, but I'm expecting a low scoring 24-10 type of win. I think, like I mentioned, I think the worst case scenario here is Buffalo makes a play early in the game and gets up 7-0 maybe. Maybe they get a turnover, they make a big special teams play, and then the Gophers get flustered, and then they're playing from behind because this is a team I don't think you want to play from behind. They're going to control the time of clock. Minnesota has advantages all over the field, but I'm saying they're not as big as they are if they were playing like Bowling Green or Eastern Michigan. This Buffalo team has a couple dudes, so um, I think the Gophers are going to win, but I would just not be shocked if we see another gross Week 1 game, especially against the MAC, which PJ Fleck has plenty of experience with. Barely beating Miami, Ohio, losing to Bowling Green, and then that Quick Lane Bowl against Bowling Green 2 years ago. So we should learn a ton about both teams in this game, and it should be a fun game. But I just expect it to be a classic Big Ten MAC slugfest, and it might not be pretty football. So, as always, I appreciate you guys for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment on the video. It really would help us get found. And then check out our written content over on Gophers, Twins, Timberwolves, and Vikings on SI. And until next time.